Let's begin. Take a deep breath. Let it all out. Deep breath in. And let go. Let's take another deep breath. And let go. One more deep breath in. Oh, friends, it's good to just breathe together again. So we've had a tumultuous couple weeks. And, thanks for the song, Lori, because really it's all about resilience, right? And I've been thinking this week a lot about this idea that we refer to meditation and prayer as spiritual practice. And we always, we use this term, spiritual practice. But do we often ever think about what it is we're practicing for? It's the moments that we're not expecting. Right? We do the spiritual practice. We come together. We be reminded. We be in the songs and the chants and the prayer and the meditation. We do our work. We practice for the pop quizzes. Right? And the pop quizzes are all those little moments in life where we actually need that grounded, centered, practiced attention. Because if we're not practiced, if we're not grounded, right, when it hits the fan, so to speak, right, that it can take us off in a weird direction, right? And think about all of the various pop quizzes that are up right now, right? Just think about the state of our nation and all that we've all been holding, the amount of fears and worries that are going through many people's minds about what's going to happen in the next number of years and months. There's a lot of anxiety available should you need it, right? But let's think about that as realizing that, even if it's the state of our nation, if it's the state of our building, if it's our ability to flux and flow and move and not lose sight of the something more that's at work here, right? Because, I think about this a lot. There's so many problems. There's so much that we could be speaking about to remind each other of all the bad things that are happening. Right. There's plenty. The list is long. I'm sure you have one of your own. Yes. But I think the purpose of us coming together in this space is to be reminded of a higher truth. To be reminded that there's a power, that there's a presence, there's an infinite field of possibility that is so much greater than any of the conditions, any of the problems, any of the stuff that's coming up. Yes. And that the purpose of the practice is to practice having an awareness of that higher truth. Right? And so we say in our prayers here every week, week after week, we always begin in this place of remembering that there is a power for good in this universe that's greater than we are. It's greater than all circumstances, and it's at work in all things. And yes, that's hard to reconcile when there's really unfortunate and really difficult things happening. But the thing is, if we continuously train our minds to believe, to know, to see, and to remember that something more is at work here, we might actually start to see it. We might start to believe it. We might start to look at something like, oh no, we can't meet in our building anymore for a period of time, as maybe there's something so big, something so magnificent. Maybe there's a transformation in front of us that we wouldn't have thought of on our own unless we had something moved out of the way to have us start to think in new ways.
That's right.
Right? That's what new thought is all about. It's about being able to move to the new thought. And sometimes we can't get to the new thought. Sometimes we can't get to the new idea. We sometimes can't get to the new possibility until the thing that we were so attached to gets moved out of the way, right? And then suddenly there's an entirely new field of possibilities in front of us that we never even considered, that weren't even on the list. But that's how our transformation happens. right? And only the power and the presence of the infinite could move so much all at once. Think about it. If it's true that when things are being moved out of the way, they're being moved out of the way for us, and in that there's something that is waiting to be created and revealed, let's look at the whole picture, whether it's in our individual lives, in this community, in our nation, or in the world. The infinite has got something going on. Right? And think about all the things that are being moved out of the way, all the things that feel like they're breaking, all the things that feel like they're in disorder. It's because they're being rearranged.
Thank you, Elisha.
Right? They're not in disorder, they're being rearranged. Because the way things have been arranged, probably for about 400 years, and at least just this country, have not really actually been working. There's been an illusion of things been working. But now we see, oh, perhaps not. Right? And how many times in our own lives have we been in situations, maybe you've been in that relationship, maybe you've been in that job, maybe you've been in that fill in the blank that actually didn't work for you, but it was yours. So you stayed there. Right? Until eventually something happened that says you're going to move whether you like it or not. Those are our invitations. Those are the pop quizzes. Those are the moments where we get to be tested on our practice. And I've been saying recently, in the last number of months, maybe even years, that the time we are stepping into maybe as a global community, but I think especially as spiritual community, we are moving into the proving times. These are the times we get to prove to ourselves what we believe. And the universe, life, pretty much every person you bump into is going to give you an opportunity to test that. Do you really believe in oneness? Do you really believe that love is more powerful than hate? Do you really believe that there's a power for good in the universe? Do you really believe that one person can make a difference? Because if you do, start acting like it. Start living like it. And every opportunity that comes your way is going to be the opportunity to test whether you really believe it or not. And then as we feel into that and we go, oh, maybe I got some work to do, or oh, wow, I'm doing a pretty good job. We get to learn, right? This whole process of spiritual practice is about learning to pivot, learning to flow, and learning to trust what is. We don't always have to like what is, but we do have to trust that there's something at work in the midst of it. If nothing else, it gives us hope. It gives us something to believe in. It gives us a vision or a dream. And hope is not, a prayer that it's all unicorns and rainbows, right? Hope is a powerful fire that we have to keep alive within ourselves. It's something that we have to tend to. It's something that we have to cultivate. It's something that we have to build and share with other people, because without hope, we are lost. Without a vision or a dream, there's nowhere for us to go. There's no meaning in any of it. But if we're willing to cultivate hope, a dream, a vision, we have a direction. And the whole thing about trusting the way, following the guidance of Spirit, is realizing that it's never about a destination and it's always about a direction. We're never actually trying to get anywhere. Whatever it is you think you want, whatever it is you think we need to do or become, that's what Spirit has given you to entertain your mind while God is doing the work. Right? And so Spirit says, you want this. And I say, great, I'm going to go that direction. And then I start to go there, and then that thing dissolves. But now that I'm here, I can see something I couldn't see before, and now I have a new horizon, which is actually where I wanted to go. Right? That's how it works. So there's this thing we have to do, which is maybe start practicing a little more non-attachment to the things that we think are stable. Because there's really only one stable truth, and that's that thing that is breathing us. It's the infinite life that has always been. Everything else is temporary. But our connection to the infinite source the power and the presence that is living us, breathing us, that has been at work in all things for all time and will be for all time. That's our source. That is the unmoving, unchangeable, changeless thing that we can rely on when everything else seems to be in motion. And that when we're able to hold that grounded center, we'd be amazed what we're actually capable of. And I think it's important for all of us to find the story or the metaphor or the image that works for us. And last couple years, as I came into CSL Santa Cruz as a community and we started to build co-community and all the things that started to happen in our space, I kept saying to people, I kind of feel like I'm walking on water. Like we're flowing, magic is happening, things are easy, it's all great. And then there's a point where you're walking on water and suddenly it's like, I'm kind of knee deep in water actually. And then there's a point where it might kind of feel like, oh, I don't even know that I'm keeping my head above the water. Like I'm just trying to swim, just trying to keep going. And a couple months ago, I needed to take a month off. I needed a sabbatical because I was in my own place of, I don't know that I can keep my head above the water. And so I had to stop. I had to return to my own practice and get very still. And one of my favorite books in the world is Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. And Valentine Michael Smith, the main character, comes from Mars, whole fabulous story. One of his abilities is he can sit underwater and slow his breath down for as long as he needs to stay there. So as I had this image in my mind of I'm not sure that I'm able to walk on water right now, I feel like I'm just barely treading, there was a moment where I said, what if you just let yourself sink to the bottom? And imagine that you can breathe underwater. That even if you feel consumed, you got this. There's a place of peace. There's a place of resilience. There's a place of stillness and waiting. If you stop fighting it, stop trying to get or be somewhere else, stop thinking you're supposed to be above the water when right now this is just an underwater moment. So let's learn to breathe underwater, which is just as miraculous as walking on water. But it requires sitting. It requires being still. It requires it all to settle, rather than saying, I can just rise above it all. What if I need to let it consume me so that it can inform me and then transform me? And then I can be the agent of transformation that shows others how to sit underwater.
Thank you, Elisha.
Right? So that's the image, right? And so find the right image for you. Find the mental pictures, the stories, the metaphors that help you walk through these times. Because the metaphors are available, friends. They're everywhere. In our synthesis work, thank you for Lori for mentioning that, which is my original work based on the work of Ernest Holmes and my teacher, Dr. Jean Houston. And one of the things we do in synthesis is we invite everyone to, in your work, find a myth that you're going to work with. And as you work with that myth, you pull out the metaphors of that story. So this is just a quick little story, which is that at our last retreat in early spring, the beginning of the synthesis year last year, we all asked, what's your new archetype, your new metaphor, and doing a meditation, and who pops into my mind but Moses? It's like, couldn't I get like Gandalf or like, something cool? Moses is pretty cool, but that just was not the story that I thought was going to be mine. Well, the more I sat with Moses, there was a lot of things I learned from him. But a couple weeks ago, I found my people had been cast out of their land, wandering the desert looking for a promised land, and I realized, maybe Moses has got some information for me. And so I'm inviting us into a time of wandering the wilderness, right? That's what we're going to be doing as we meet in this place, as we meet in various locations for some of our classes. We're just going to be wandering together. But realize that in the wandering, where are we going? We're going to the promised land. Right? We're going to a new dream. We're going to a new idea. We're going to something that we could not have become where we were. Right? And that may be going right back where we were, but in a whole new way. it might mean we have to go find a new place to be. But we're on a journey. And we're going to go on this journey together. And we're going to see where it leads us. Because again, in the Moses story, did he know where he was going, or was there some powerful presence that led them through the process? So we're going to look to a higher presence. We're going to look to that something more to be our guide, to call us forward. The way knows the way, and we're going to wander through this together until we arrive where we are going. And then once we get there, we're going to see a whole new vision. So take a deep breath in. And let it go. I'm going to invite Lauren up. I'm also going to invite all of my practitioners and ministers to come up here. We're going to do a little extra prayer today. And we've done this before in our community. I'm going to invite you all to participate in this prayer as well. So in just a moment, I'm going to invite us to call upon that higher wisdom truth, to call upon that version of ourselves that is calling us forward, each individually, for our community, for our nation, and the world. And I'm going to invite you as well to, if you're comfortable, to stand up and to speak your prayer out loud, to make a sound, to sing a mantra, but to put your energy into the room. And I also want to ask if any of the members of the Board of Trustees that are here, if you would just be willing to come stand up right here, because we just want to pour as much of this extra prayer onto these folks as possible right now, because they really need and deserve it. And so Nate's coming down, Mohini's coming up. And so I'm just going to invite everyone to take a deep breath in. If it's comfortable, rub your hands together. Build up some energy, some heat, some chi, some possible potential. And then when you're ready, pull those hands apart and just take a moment and see if you can feel that buzzing energy. Feel that life force. And realize that each one of us has this potential energy within us to create. And so let's bring our collective energy together right now to open our voices, to open our hearts and minds and our collective consciousness to speak a truth that we are going someplace good, individually and collectively. So let's take a deep breath in and let it go. Another deep breath in. Let it go. One more deep breath as I invite anyone and everyone who feels called to speak our word together right now. And so as we begin, I just bring to mind this awareness that there is a power in the presence greater than I am, greater than we are, greater than all things. I call it God. It is the infinite presence that is living and breathing in, through, and as everyone, everything, every when, everywhere, all the time. What I know is that there is one infinite intelligence that is at work in all things, that there is one power, one presence, one field of potential that is intimately and intricately interwoven into every circumstance. And what I know is that everything that is unfolding in each one of our lives, everything that is unfolding in our community, everything that is unfolding in our nation, everything that is unfolding in our world is the activity of this one, unfolding, evolving, transforming. But what I know is that there is a power for good so much greater than we are that we can trust. So let us learn to trust that presence. Let us learn to trust our intuition. Let us learn to trust the guidance. Let us learn to remember that the way knows the way. We don't have to find the way. We can trust it. We can feel it. We know it already. So let us know that everything that is being moved out of the way, everything that is being broken down, everything that seems to be wrong is the rearrangement for our transformation. It is that which is supporting us becoming more than we've ever been before. That this is the proving time. This is the time for each one of us to step into our highest potential, to speak our truth, to live out loud, to be bold, to be the new way. Each one of us activating and becoming new thoughts and new ways of being. And so I speak a word for CSL Santa Cruz, recognizing that there is a right and perfect place for us to do our work. And what I know is that we are expanding. we are healing, we are opening to something more, and we are on our way to some place good. And so I just speak a word of blessing over our board of trustees. Each one of these individuals doing so much work to help steer this ship as we move towards the next. I give thanks for our beloved practitioners who hold this consciousness, who hold each one of us in prayer, who are continuously in the ceaseless activity of knowing a higher truth and wholeness for each one of us and for all of us. And I speak a word for each member of this community, those who are here in Santa Cruz and those who tune in to us around the nation, recognizing that we are so much more than we know. We are so much more than a building. We are so much more than a Sunday service. We are so much more than we are aware of. And so let that muchness, let that more of us make itself known. Let us reveal the truth of who we are into the world so that we can truly be the impact, the service, the healing presence that we know that we are meant to be. So I just speak a word of gratitude for all that is unfolding, because I know that everything necessary to the full and complete expression of the highest, most boundless experience of joy is available to us. All of it is unfolding, being prepared right now. And so let us surrender to what is. Accept, allow, and open. Remembering that there is a power for good in this universe, so much greater than we are. And yet it is who we are. And so let us rest in that as we declare and say together, and so